Red Bull's drivers have managed to find themselves in the spotlight yet again, and for all the wrong reasons. Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen went at it on the track in Jeddah, and even though the Mexican driver was able to keep an advantage of 5 seconds over his teammate, Verstappen didn't want to give up and pushed without any particular reason just to snatch the fastest lap attempt from Perez. This has sparked the talk that Perez and Verstappen's relationship has gone downhill yet again, something that has been denied by Perez's father, who had a lot to say on this matter. Join us as we go through Perez Garibay's statement on the current situation in Red Bull and whether there is a chance we'll see Perez move to another team or not. Sergio Perez joined Red Bull Racing back in 2021, and it was safe to say that ever since race 1, his role was to be the clear number 2 driver. This is something that he enjoyed doing, and on tracks like Turkey, France and in the finale in Abu Dhabi, we've seen Perez's actions help his teammate a lot. However, in 2022 a different narrative happened in the Austrian team, and even though Perez's car was more difficult for him thanks to the upgrades that seemed to suit Verstappen more, the Dutchman didn't forget one thing: Perez's crash in the Monaco qualifying session. This allowed the Mexican to have an advantage over his teammate in the race, where overtaking is practically impossible. When the race ended, Perez went out with the statement, "The championship fight is on." Why am I talking about this for so long? Well, this is where everything started to go south for the Austrian team, and from a match made in heaven, Red Bull is now dealing with 2 drivers that can and are pushing for the championship in 2023, and that cannot turn out well for one of them. While Perez is yet to prove that he has the stamina and talent that Verstappen has in the RB19, he is definitely a threat, possibly the only one that Verstappen has right now. And after the Jeddah win, we have seen that Perez wasn't greeted by Verstappen's father, not even a single nod or a clear congratulations. Even though Perez tried to squash the rumours that he and the Verstappens are in a very cool relationship and says that there is a lot of respect between each other, the actions on the track speak differently. But now Perez's father, Antonio Perez Garibay, one of the coolest guys in Formula 1 and probably one of the proudest fathers that you can witness weekend after weekend, has spoken about the situation between his son and Verstappen. Apparently after 2022 and what is currently going on in 2023, there have been talks that Red Bull is, yet again, giving Verstappen preferential treatment, something to which Garibay had a harsh response as he added, "That is a lie. Let's be clear, Red Bull is a brand that costs many billions of dollars above Checo and Max. It is a professional team that wants to win with its 2 drivers. From lap 1 in practice 1, they want their 2 drivers to be 1 and 2. There is no favoritism for anyone, it's all speculation. Red Bull has the 2 best tigers in the same cage. If they weren't at the same level, what's going on wouldn't be there. Hopefully more teams and drivers will join the championship. The fight won't just be between Checo and Max." When you listen to what Garibay has to say, you can't help but see that this is a guy who is a legitimate F1 fan. Although his son is going through so much with Red Bull and has been in situations that would make you want to rip Verstappen and his dad's hair out of their heads, he is remaining calm and understands the entire situation as it should be. I salute him for that, but I can't help but wonder, is there really no preferential treatment towards Verstappen? One thing to consider is how both drivers were treated during the Saudi Grand Prix. Whether it was miscommunication or trying to slow down Checo deliberately, both Red Bull drivers were given different lap times, with Perez being told to drive at 1:33.0 while Verstappen behind was driving at 1:32.6, meaning that the Dutchman would need around 10 laps to catch Perez at that speed. However, when Perez found out that his teammate was pushing from behind, he asked the team whether or not this was necessary right now, and that's when his engineer told him that he was free to push. Had the roles been reversed and Perez had been pushing to catch Verstappen, I doubt that he would have been given the nod from his engineer to go after his teammate. Although, as bitter as it may sound, I doubt that Perez will often find himself in a situation in which he'll be able to challenge his teammate for the lead if Verstappen is the one ahead. But even Perez himself noticed that there was something going on behind the scenes, and when the Mexican driver was speaking to the media ahead of the Australian Grand Prix, he said that Red Bull were going racing with 2 cars because they had to. He now feels very well respected and the team is no longer doing this because they can count on him to win races. Obviously, it's a dig at his teammate Verstappen, but as Horner once said, the most difficult thing in the F1 world is to have Verstappen as your teammate. He is an excellent driver, but a terrible human being, and he doesn't show any remorse for a second, as we saw in Brazil in 2022. When he was supposed to help his teammate by giving back the position he earned from him without a fight, he humiliated him in front of the entire world. And what does Red Bull do afterwards? They sign Ricciardo as a reserve driver just to remind Perez that the number 2 driver is always replaceable. If I recall correctly, Red Bull did say that they fixed most of the issues that drove Perez further from the car in 2022, and that's been shown in the first 3 races of the season as well. Of course, he isn't as fast as Verstappen, at least not in Bahrain and Melbourne, but in Jeddah, Verstappen had 25 laps to catch up to his teammate, and he failed to do so. Sure, he started from P15 and had already used a huge amount of tyre performance to get where he ended, but if you look at Spa last year, you'll see that Verstappen took the lead very early on in the race when he started from P14. So, is there any chance that we'll see preferential treatment from Red Bull yet again? Given how their competitors have failed to deliver so far, and it seems that the Austrian squad's drivers are the only ones that can make each other's lives difficult in 2023, it's highly possible. After all, the team doesn't want to end with the same scenario that Mercedes ended in 2016, where bonds were broken forever and every weekend was a story in itself. However, and with no offense to the Mexican driver, I don't think he has what it takes to beat Verstappen in the same machinery. The Dutchman's delivery is almost perfect, and the chances we'll see him make a mistake on track, like Leclerc in France or what happened to Perez in Melbourne, are slim to none. He can adapt to whatever car is given to him, and there aren't many drivers that can fight against this. Perez, however, feels like while his championship hopes are alive, there is something that keeps the relationship between him and Verstappen positive, as he went on to add, "To be honest, we have a lot more respect for each other than people out there might think. There's a great atmosphere in the team, there's a very high level of respect between each other and with all the engineers on his side and mine. I think we're both mature enough to know what's right and what's wrong, and as long as that's the case, I don't expect that to change." We are yet to see a wheel-to-wheel battle between the Red Bull drivers, and as things stand, the team may interfere to try to stop that happening as they did in Baku last year. Nevertheless, if you consider how Perez was treated during these years by Red Bull, and if he hasn't let go of the humiliation in Brazil, rest assured that the last thing he'd do is to listen to team orders and let his teammate by without a fight. With that being said, what do you think of the situation at Red Bull? Do you think that the respect between them is long gone? Or do you agree with Perez's father, who said that there isn't any such thing whatsoever? Let us know in the comments below.